Hey warriors, welcome to the Untamed Life podcast, where we are breaking free from those chains of the past and rising to lead extraordinary lives. I believe it's time for us to ditch the rules of this world that are keeping us enslaved in the grind, playing from behind, and instead opt into a conscious and strategic upgrade, one that is founded in spiritual principles that can only be accessed through the power of the heart. So if you are craving deeper, more meaningful relationships, vibrant bodies full of life force, true prosperity in all arenas, and a life of adventure, this podcast is for you. My name is Christine Jewell. I'm a high performance coach and spiritual mentor, and together we will awaken the king or queen you are destined to be so that you can experience the fullness of life that's waiting for you. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to another episode of The Untamed Life. Today, I am coming to you from Costa Rica. I'm actually in my casita in the jungle, like way in the jungle. And so if you guys hear some animals in the background, birds, water, anything, I've pretty enclosed myself, but that's what you're tuning into today. So I just am here in Costa Rica at a retreat center with about 7 people, and we have just been working on really up-leveling our body, really working on the vessel. You know, I said earlier in one of my first episodes, like energy is everything, and that our bodies are these beautiful vessels to really channel, you know, more of the spirit, more of our soul's gifts into the world. And I had some beautiful takeaways this week, and I just want to share them with you. I want to just speak directly from my heart, share what's coming through, some of the gems and the gifts that I'm walking away with, some great reminders, and hopefully that you will receive some of this beautiful, just miraculous, like beauty that's around here. So I came to Costa Rica to this retreat specifically because, you know, you guys know I love to work on the body. I started my career in the health and fitness realm, working on the physical body, training as an athlete, and had such a different relationship with my body back then. You know, I treated my body like a machine. I told it what to do. I was constantly beating myself up, pushing, forcing, and all of the things. And, you know, that season of my life was there on purpose, for a purpose. I had so many great teachings that came through for me. I learned discipline. I learned the art of what I could do with my body, right? Like I could really move agile and move quickly, and I could race, and I could push my body to these extremes and stuff, and my body would still hold me and still show up for me. And so that season of my life, I'm not bashing it. It was there for a reason. It was there for a season, right? And then I came into a whole other time and space where I was done sort of pushing and forcing and telling my body what to do all the time and criticizing it, and really just learning how to have a different healthy relationship with my body. And I've been there for about the last 5 years of really tuning in to listen. What is my body craving for food? What kind of movement feels really good? How much rest do I need? Like really tapping in. And I talk about this a lot on this podcast. And this week has been a whole other level of that. So I want to come back to just those core teachings that, first of all, you know, your body, this beautiful body is a vessel. It is a vessel to bring more of your gifts, to bring more of your voice, to bring more of your work, your art, whatever it is that God has given you as your talents. Like this is what you bring into the world, you know. And one of my key takeaways here was that, like, anywhere where we hold ourselves back on not speaking up or not sharing or not building or not creating what really our soul is craving to create, what God is calling us to create, we hold back from others too, right? The more art I put into the world through my work, through my coaching, through my trainings, through just experiences that I invite you guys into and other people into, my family, share with others, the more art, the more beauty there is to experience in the world, right? The more beauty I share in the world, more of my own physical beauty, more of my own inner beauty, my radiance, the more I allow my inner beauty to shine, to radiate, to you know, pour into others and really own it, like really own it and really channel it and share it. Don't be grabby with it, right? Like I want to share this beauty, the more beauty there is available for all of us. And so that first is one of my big takeaways. I was at the top of the mountain the other day and we were doing a full day in the teepee and dancing and singing. And I went outside for a minute and I just looked at this beautiful landscape, and it was so vast and it was so spacious. And on one side, I could see the ocean, and on the other side, I could see mountains, and then I could see the depth of the forest and all the multi-dimensional colors. And there was so much richness in the clay and the soil, in the people that were connecting and the singing. And I thought, wow, and I just had almost like this voice speaking through me, in me, that was like, this world I created for you guys, this world I created for humans, for you to enjoy, was never meant to be like fought over. It's never meant to be like grabbing and needing to like grab for attention and grab for power. Each of us has been given a portion, right? A piece of land to steward, a piece of a gift to steward, something, relationships to cultivate, and art to put out into the world, things to create. And the more we own that, like really say, thank you, I received this piece, this gift, these relationships, these things that I have received, and I will be a great steward of these things, and I will be a great cultivator of this soil, the more there is for all of us to share. It was never meant to be a competition thing. It was never meant to be a scarcity thing. Somewhere along the lines, things got distorted, right? We bought this lie that we had to compete, that we had to strive for, that we had to fight over money, land, relationships, love, fight over, as if like there's a limited amount. But the reality is, when you drop in and you come into these places where really we reconnect to the earth, and you see the vastness, and you connect with the beauty, the strength that's available to you, in you, through you, you realize like we are truly vessels to be able to allow more of this to come out onto this planet, in our communities, in our industries. And the more we pour, the more there is available for everyone. So this is really like, to me, it's a wealth code. It's a law of prosperity. It's a currency that we get to exchange, this knowing. The knowing is a currency, a heavenly currency that we get to exchange. This deep trust is a currency that we get to exchange, a trusting of what we've been given, and being okay with it, and being grateful, deeply appreciative of it, and trusting that it will multiply when we steward it well. So many of us are so busy waiting for the next thing to drop into our lap, the next opportunity, the next, big project, the next relationship, that we just kind of discard what's in front of us. And as I look out, I'm recording this right now, I'm looking out, maybe on the video I can turn around and I could show you guys. I'm looking out and I literally do see this forest. Like, look at this. This is incredible. And you guys, if you can't see this here, you can go on YouTube and watch it. But as I look at this land, I get a beautiful reminder that, it doesn't matter if you've given a tiny plot of land or if you have hundreds of acres. There's 600 acres here. How you cultivate, how you care for the garden, whether it's a square, like, do you really appreciate and be so thankful for it? Because looking from afar, we see the big picture, right? We see how every single plot, every small piece, large piece collectively looks. When you have a bigger vantage point, you can see like, wow, you can see what's been cared for, and you can see what's been destroyed, what has been discarded, what hasn't been appreciated. When you pull back, you could see these pockets almost like of dead, uncared for land, uncared for relationships, uncared for gifts that have been thrown aside. And then you see other pockets that are like flourishing and vibrant, and new life is forming. And so those of you who are tuning in, I know I'm speaking kind of at a high level, but this is really a practical thing. As you look around your office, you look around your home, you look around your relationships, is to be like, wow, is everything in my world, in my field, in my environment thriving that I touch? So one of my commitments, really, and I've said this a few times, but I really am stepping into a new layer, a new level of identity around this, is that everything I touch really multiplies. Everything I touch turns to gold. I'm wearing yellow today. Those of you watching me on the video, is the color of the sun, the color of radiance, the color of gold. And the symbolism of that for me is that whatever I touch, truly, that it be something that turns to gold. Whether I touch someone through a relationship, through a word, I wanted to leave a gem with them. So those are some big things that came through. And as we worked this week with our bodies, the beautiful reminder that our body is truly a temple. God says, your body is a temple. The olden days, right, in the Old Testament ways, you'd have to go to temples to meet God, to have an experience with the Spirit, right? You had to go through all of these rituals and all of these like legalistic things, and through intercessors and priests, or, whatever it was, and you didn't have access to the Spirit. But we are in a time, we're in an era, where we all have access to the Spirit. Jesus even said, we enter through the temple. Your body is a temple, and I am alive in you, and I work in you and through you. And regardless of what you believe or whatever, like, we no longer need to go through all of these ritualistic practices to meet God, or to hear the voice of God, or to hear the voice of the Spirit in our soul. Like, we enter into the secret place. The temple is our body. We are walking, living, breathing. We are the church. Like, you are the church. You are the place, right? The body of Christ, the body is the church. And so as you think about your temple, and that's why we love going to temples, right? Like, we love going to sacred spaces, and we honor them, and you could feel like a reverence and an awe, and like, wow, this is a special place. Like, we take care of it. And I think a lot of us, certainly myself, I would have told you before, yeah, I take care of my body, I take care of my temple, I work out, we do infrared sauna, we train almost every day, we eat mostly grass-fed things, I do breath work, I dance, I do a lot of these practices, and I love celebrating and really tuning into the temple. But again, this week took me into another layer as we went into blending, really wholesome, nutritious food. My stomach feels amazing, like my digestive system, my body feels like vibrating, like alive. Everything we had here was so like rich in enzymes and rich in superfoods and rich in minerals. Like, we were drinking so many minerals of the earth, right? Nutrient dense foods that are very satiating, but with nothing processed in them. Clean, pure water with plasma and coconut water and lemon, and so much hydration happening, like teas, beautiful organic teas. We have this buildup that happens. We're so unaware of it because we're so tuned into our environment. There's Wi-Fi, there's EMF frequencies, there's all kinds of lights, there's synthetic materials, there's stress, there's toxins through our food, through seed oils, especially if we're going out to eat or we're eating on the run. We're eating fast, right? So we're not digesting our food properly. And on top of it, there's all the emotional stuff that begins to stack. So our bodies become dense, our light bodies, our vessels, our channels get kind of fuzzy. And so we're trying to receive and process information and process emotions and share, but there's like these blockages. And so, there's a lot of work out there around like mindset and like, affirmations, and do the mindset work, and then, work out harder and stuff, or I need to overcome my limiting beliefs, and I need to figure out what my blocks is. And like, literally, you need to work with all four bodies, and the physical body is a huge place where emotional backup can manifest as physical solidities, right? Tumors, blockages in your intestines, like stones in your liver, like these things need to pass. So, again, the beautiful reminder was really to clean, to keep the channels clean all through the body, right? Right from the crown, right from where I'm receiving vision and intuition, and right through the throat, right? Through everything I'm ingesting in my mouth, through the heart, through the liver and the organs, and out the other end. Like, really, like, are you clearing yourself regularly? What kind of practices do you have for that, right? Clearly clearing emotions, clearing mental blocks, clearing physical blocks. And so I just want to say, like, there was so much cleansing and so much clearing that happened this week. And it just was a remembering. My body was remembering where there are blocks and was revealing to me where there were blocks that I didn't even know that there were, right? Because I was just like going through it. And I was like, yeah, I have a pretty good lifestyle, right? That's why I think it's so important that we pause, that we become intentional about curating time and space, dedicating time and space, whether it's at home, for like a 1-day fast, or, a week-long sort of cleanse, or a retreat, or we go through something in a group like that. We really become intentional about curating the time and space to just do some cleansing, do some clearing. We need spaciousness in our field, in our physical vessel, our mental body. We need spaciousness in our heart so that we can really receive love. And if it's always full, you guys always hear me, if it's always full of hardened and anger, like, there's no room. We need space in our gut, right? We need space in our gut to tune into our gut instinct and just to like process and assimilate and digest everything. So there's so many layers. So the question is really like, are you giving yourself the time and space to just sit, right? To tune into your body, to ask your body, like, where do you feel congested? What feels backed up? Like, what do you feel is like, not passing through? There's like a blockage there, and start asking your body, your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body, what are you craving right now? And that brings me into the next thing is like, the great reminder, it's always like the work that we do. I work with a lot of leaders. The work that you have gone through yourself is the work that you then bring to others, right? It's a gift. You walk through the lessons, then you pass it on to the people that you coach, you train, you lead. And this week was another lesson for myself in trusting even more deeply, trusting the spirit, trusting, my inner knowing, even trusting myself. Like, there's so many times that I also fall into, like, I know that this is what I'm desiring, or this is what I'm feeling, it's time to like structure a program a certain way, or change the way I'm delivering something, or something doesn't feel quite right, maybe a commitment or a decision I made. And I'm afraid, like, there's this hesitation of really like listening and tuning in. It could be anything, like what you feel like wearing that day, or where you feel like going, because these micro subtle things are really where we come in or out of alignment, right? Such a simple thing. Like, the other day, it was just a really funny, simple example. Like, I was just kind of like, what colors do we want to wear? We're really tuned in. And as the women gathered, it was actually really hilarious. Like, I'm wearing the yellow dress right now. When I got to the casita, the main house, the spa, it was like all the women were wearing yellow. Like, there was no memo, right? There was no physical memo, but we were all craving like radiance and sun and like really sharing. And then I was tuning in like, I feel like changing into fuchsia, but I didn't. And I got up there and it was like fuchsia, a lot of people were wearing fuchsia. And it was just interesting to me, like just tuning into even something as simple as like what colors you are called to wear, because there's an energy that each color holds, right? There's associations we have with color. They bring different things out of us. Like this color that I'm wearing right now is like very radiant and bold and beautiful. And sometimes I want to be more subdued, and it really facilitates, your voice or your softness or whatever. Subtle things like, getting in a cab or not, right? Like going one direction, staying 24 hours longer on one location, like these subtle shifts that I've made even on this trip of deciding to leave a day early to come down to the jungle and just walk on the beach for a day. And like, it opened up some new doors for me. Like I had 2 people reach out to me that weren't really in my field, wanting to book calls with me. And it was just like listening, and then taking action moment by moment. So really, like, as you come back to nature and you come back to quietness and you come back to deeply nourishing yourself and you come back to spaciousness, there's a whole other level of trust. There's a whole other level of trusting yourself that begins to open up for you. That anywhere that, like it's like an affirmation, a confirmation comes through. That's like, yeah, that thing, like you need to move on that. Like, and there's a confidence around that, a certainty, because you're not in all the congestion anymore. So for me, I'm so grateful, to have been here with some of these women, Wanpa, the men that were holding space, and just getting like full body yeses, full soul yeses in the spirit. And, in some of the places where I was a little bit like holding back, hesitating, doubting myself, it's like, yeah, now the work is already done. I said it to the group the other day, like the work is complete. We've done a lot of work this week. Now it all gets to be play. Now it gets to be practice, right? When we drop into these containers, you go on a trip, you go to an immersion, you get into a coaching container, you jump on a call, you do a leadership event. There's a lot of things that get reorganized. There's a lot of things that get stirred up. And I believe that a lot of the work has already happened, but the integration, like how everything solidifies, is what you do when you go home. And this is also true if you have a morning ritual of working out and prayer and meditation or sauna or whatever it is, writing. Can you hold that state? Can you hold that frequency throughout the day? The integration is throughout the day. When something pisses you off, or you get an unexpected like note come across your desk, or your kids are, struggling with something, or, you get triggered. The integration is like, what happens when you get off the mat? What happens when you exit the gym? What happens when like someone's not cooking all organic, grass-fed, like jungle food for you? Like, are you still keeping the promise to your body to pause, to come back to the breath, to drink the pure water, right? So many things coming up for me, but really like I wanted to share that for those of you who have been holding back on your gifts, putting your voice out there, because maybe there's like some old programming, like, oh, that don't be too vain, or don't put yourself out there. Like, you got to be more humble. There's a grace and humility, yes, but a humility of deep service does not hold back on serving and putting things out in the world that benefit others, that inspire others, that help others grow. And this, again, just reaffirmed for me why I get to keep holding these containers for one-on-one clients, for couples retreats, I see the need, and there's a need in the world, right? For couples to come together, to have a shared vision, to work on their physical bodies, their emotional bodies, their spiritual bodies together. Because even this retreat center that I'm at right now is a vision of a power couple that came together. He had a vision, she had a vision, but when they came together, they amplified each other. And now their vision is coming to fruition. 600 acres in the Costa Rican jungle, overlooking the ocean. There's beautiful casitas, homes everywhere, like waterfalls, natural springs, like the most beautiful food, the most beautiful people. They're building community, and this is their vision. And even though they both have their own thing going on, when they come together, it's like something new is birthed. And this is my I feel so aligned in this work. I've seen it in my own relationship with Marcus. We come together. Yes, I had my business, he had his, I had my vision, he had his. Something new becomes transformed. Something new is birthed as couples come together. So, it's really important wherever you are that you do your own work, your inner work. And if you're in a relationship, that you really treat that union, that entity, that there's a third entity, right? The relationship itself needs the tender care, right? Needs the nurturing, needs the spaciousness, needs the nourishment. It has a vision that wants to come through and come into manifestation and fruition. And so I believe that we're designed to multiply and prosper in sacred union. So, just as I wrap, it's like I realize the importance of just the more I offer, the more I invite you guys to come into the work, to join me at one of my retreats, to jump in a coaching container, the Warriors of the Heart Mastermind community. Like, this is how we multiply and we add more life into the world, right? You guys come together, you get healed, you grow, you have a vision, new things birth, and now you create a ripple effect. And I have beautiful clients going through this right now, where they came in a very rough place, fighting against each other, not knowing if they were going to make it. And now they're serving other people through their own challenges. And the ripple effect has happened. The more beauty I put out, the more beauty was created. And now they're creating it and pouring it into the world. And so it is. And so it is. So I'm just tuning in if there's anything else. I mean, those were really I want to leave you with these three things for sure. Is number one, anywhere that you're holding back, I invite you to tune in. Where are you holding back, right? Where have you been holding back because you're afraid to shine, afraid to succeed, afraid to fail, afraid to be judged? That's a big one, right? Afraid that you don't know the way. The how always figures itself out once you make the commitment to show up. That's number one. Remember, the more you show up, the more shows up for you. The more you pour out, the more is available for others, and you ultimately receive more as well. That's just the law of how things work. The second thing is really clearing your channels. Like, really, what does the next level look like for you to honor the temple, to clear your channels so that you can think clearly, you can see clearly the visions that are wanting to come through you. You can speak them clearly, right? You can trust your gut. You can hear the voice speaking through you. If you don't know how to do this work, if you don't know where to begin, reach out. These are things that we discuss inside of our containers. We work a lot of mastering our energy, right? All of our energy, because it is foundational. You've got to have the capacity so that you can show up for the mission that you're getting called on. And the last thing is really to trust that inner knowing. Whatever your inner gut, your inner being is craving right now, write it down. If you actually had permission, what would it look like? What would you be doing? This is really the most challenging and the most beautiful part. Really the most challenging and the beautiful part. And I want to finish with this. This is really what this place is all about, where I've been. And also the message that I'm about too is there's an old way and there's a new way to create, to build. The old way is a lot of suffering, to be honest. The old way, the way that I grew up was push, hustle, grind, force. You have to have breakdowns before you have breakthroughs. It's got to be painful. Even here, like we're doing ice cold plunges. We're doing like all kinds of therapies that maybe to some people would be like, oh, you can sit in the cold plunge and you can like grit your teeth and clench your fists and like fight your way through the water. Or you can relax and melt into the water and let the heat of your body begin to rise and focus on the flame that's inside. And you can relax further into the cold and you can anchor even deeper without fighting the water, but letting the water and the fire work together. And this is the beauty way. Right? The beauty way is the way forward. The beauty way is the way of the new era, where we create in business, where we collaborate with one another, where we grow and we expand and we evolve and we upgrade in our consciousness and our identities without having to constantly go through these massive upheavals and crises in our lives. We begin to navigate them with more grace. More grace. God is grace. God is love, right? With more love, with more grace, with beauty holding us through it. And I believe that beauty is the feminine coming back into the equation, where beauty has been cast aside and kind of, just looked as something dangerous. People have been afraid of beauty. They've prostituted beauty. Like the beauty way is the feminine coming back to balance out some of these hyper masculine ways of operating that are outdated, and we're coming back into more wholeness, more balance, right? It's like, yes, we still take action, we still move forward, we're still in the building, and we're coming together, we're doing together, but we're doing from a completely different place. We're creating from a completely different place, right? There's actually spaciousness now to enjoy the creative process and the creation itself, instead of constantly being in production mode, chasing the next thing, never satiated, never held, never satisfied. Beauty, the beauty way. So the last final question I have for you today is really like, how do you want to move forward in creating your new relationship, the next season of business, the next season of life? If you're still stuck in those old paradigms that say, oh no, you got to set goals, you got to do this, it's going to be hard, it's going to be challenges, you got to fight your way through. Check yourself, because if you're doing it, right? If you're doing it. The beauty way, there's still a lot of expansion. There's overflow. There's growth. And as I wrap with a year of reclaiming, restoring, and rebuilding, part of this is reclaiming the original design of creating in a way that is organic, that is natural, that is bountiful, beautiful, right? Where we can enjoy that process and restoring some of the thinking that has been broken around this, right? I want to thank you guys for being here. There's the beauty way forward, and there's the suffering way forward. The suffering way forward is disconnected from our body, fighting against our vessel, cloudy, stuffed up, chunked up. The suffering way is hoarding, moving from scarcity, grabbing, competing, being in fear that we'll run out of money, or we'll run out of this, or there won't be enough. That's the suffering way. The suffering way is not trusting ourselves. The beauty way is everything else that I talked about today. So I want to thank my beautiful host, Regan and Wampa, for having me here this week. And I want to thank all of you who are listening, my listeners, clients. I pray that this message will stir your spirit, will inspire you to look deeper, to go deeper into a new relationship with your body, your multidimensional body. You start really honoring the temple that you've been given. What a beautiful gift from God. And finally, as always, if you are stirred and inspired to go deeper into this work, we are opening up the Warriors of the Heart community. It's a mastermind of leaders, men and women, coming together, monthly trainings, like monthly live laser coaching and support, as we go through this journey of initiation from the old way of suffering into the new way of beauty, from being a warrior of the world to a warrior of the heart, rising kings, rising queens, men and women who actually co-create and come together and operate completely different in relationships, in their businesses, with their bodies, with their health, vibrating at a higher level, prospering in all areas. If this is you and this is calling you, go ahead and click on the link in the show notes, learn more about the initiation, or apply to work with me. There are a couple different levels of involvement. You guys can reach out and inquire, and I can direct you in the best way forward. So thank you again for being here. I'm sending you lots of love from Costa Rica, from these 600 acres of beautiful lushness and richness, truly richness. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely, leading courageously as warriors of the heart. Bye for now.
Thanks again for joining me in today's episode. It is my intention to bring you valuable, heart-shifting content every time that will upgrade your life. If you're a new listener, make sure you follow the podcast so you can stay up to date as future episodes roll out. And I invite you to head on over and join my free community, Warriors of the Heart, on Facebook. In there, you'll find bonus trainings, a game-changing assessment tool, and exclusive member-only offers. Until next time, warriors, here's to loving fiercely and leading courageously in the untamed life, the only life worth living.